Before you take a single outlet out of the wall, I want you to see this, because there are 6 mistakes that almost every DIYer makes when they wire a receptacle, and I'll be honest with you right up front. A couple of these are hiding behind the wall plates in my own house right now, put there by a licensed electrician. Any one of them can leave you with a loose connection, an arc behind the drywall, and in the worst case, a fire that starts inside the wall, where you'd never see it coming. The good news is that every single one of these is easy to avoid once you know what you're looking at. And the last one is the one hardly anybody thinks about. It takes about 2 seconds to fix, and I want it to be the thing you remember when you close this video, so stay with me to the end. If you've got a screwdriver in 10 quiet minutes, you can do this right. Let's take them one at a time. The first thing I see over and over is using the backstab connections, or what the manufacturer calls the push-in terminals. Flip an outlet over and you'll see these little holes on the back. You strip the wire, push it straight in, and a small spring clip is supposed to hold it. It's fast. That's the only thing it has going for it. Here's the problem. Nobody likes being stabbed in the back, so don't do it to your wiring either. Those push-in terminals are single use, and the amount of metal actually touching your wire is tiny. A little spring clip against a thin strand of copper. That's it. Compare that to a screw terminal, where the wire wraps around the post and gets clamped down with real pressure. There's no comparison. And I'm not speaking in theory here. The house I live in now is about 7 years old, wired top to bottom by a professional, and every outlet in it uses these backstabs. I've lost count of how many times I've pulled a cover plate off, gone to slide the outlet out, and had one of those wires either fall right out or come loose in my hand. Once, I opened a brand new outlet still in the box and found the clip already sitting loose inside, so don't use them. Every problem they cause is a problem you don't need. Use the screw terminals on the side, every time. And which screwdriver you reach for to tighten those screws actually matters more than you'd think. That brings me to the next one, grabbing the wrong screwdriver, and honestly, part of that is just how many options there are. You've got a flathead, a Phillips, a Robertson, and something called an ECX, which I'll get to in a second. A flathead works okay. A lot of guys, professional electricians included, still reach for it first. It does the job. It's just not ideal. The one most of us have used our whole lives is the Phillips. It works, but it wants to cam out, slip and chew up the head. The moment you put any real force into it, you end up leaning hard on the screw just to keep the tip seated. Useful, but not the best tool for the job. Not long ago, I was looking at the shape of one of these terminal screws and thought, I bet a Robertson would sit right in there. If you've never used one, the Robertson is a Canadian invention. Been around a long time. It looks like a square drive, but the sides taper slightly, so it really seats itself. This is a Robertson number 1, and it drops in and locks like it was made for it. Not perfect, but close. Then there's the one I actually want you to know about. I ordered this Klein 15-in-1, and one reason I bought this exact one is the tips it comes with. This is the ECX. Think of it as a Robertson and a flathead combined into one tip. It's got both. It fills the entire opening in the head of an electrical screw, so there's nowhere for it to slip. It's purpose-built for exactly these screws, outlets, switches, and the like. If you do much of this, it's the ideal way to drive them. Most of these you can find on Amazon. A few only turn up at Harbor Freight, Lowe's, or Home Depot. And here's the part I care about most. Get the insulated version. We're DIYers. We don't have the formal training or the certifications a licensed electrician has, so the smart move is to stack the safety in our favor and take the extra precaution that costs us nothing. A fully insulated tool is rated to protect you up to 1,000 volts. That's exactly the kind of margin you want in your hand when you're working in a live box. If you like Milwaukee, they make a great one. Comes in a set of 3, nearly identical to the Klein, just a few grooves at the top. Runs about $21 as I'm recording this. Links to all of it are in the description. And to be clear, this video isn't sponsored. Everything I'm using here I bought with my own money. Right tool in hand, now the wire itself, because if you get the length wrong, even a perfect screw won't save you. The next mistake is stripping off too much wire, or too little. When you bend your shepherd's hook to wrap around the screw, you don't want a bunch of bare copper hanging out past it. Watch. If I strip the right amount, make my hook, and set it under the screw the correct way, it seats, it holds, I can tighten it down properly, and I've got a solid connection, good contact between the screw, the plate underneath, and the wire. That's what we're after. The problem with too much is that all that extra bare copper is exposed, and that's dangerous. Every bit of exposed wire is one more place another conductor can touch, or you can touch, or that can brush the outlet beside it or a metal junction box. Too much bare wire is bad news. Go the other way, too short, and you've got the opposite problem. Try to make a hook out of a stub that's too short, and you end up with most of the wire's insulation, the jacket, sitting under the screw instead of copper. Maybe a sliver of metal is making contact in there, but it's a fraction of what you need. That's a weak connection waiting to heat up. Strip the right amount, you get a fully solid connection, nothing exposed, nothing short. And here's the good news. Almost every modern outlet has a strip gauge printed right on it. Line the wire up to that mark and you're set. For a shepherd's hook, you're usually looking at about 3/4 of an inch. Some strippers even have an adjustable depth stop. I set mine to the mark, run the wire into the teeth, push and pull it off, and it cuts right on the line, pull it back, and I've got the exact length every time. You can double check it against the gauge on the outlet if you want, and you don't need anything fancy for this. A classic pair of plated strippers works fine. So do the automatic self-adjusting kind. A lot of those have a depth stop too. One trick people miss, those old school strippers have a little hole near the tip. Slip the bare wire into it, right at the edge, then bend up and around and you'll roll a nice tight hook, perfect for the screw post. Clean little setup. Now what if you've got more than one wire to land? That's where a lot of people force it. That's the next one, putting several wires under one terminal that was never designed for it. As a rule, a terminal screw is built to hold one wire. There are a few exceptions, and I'll show you one in a minute, but you want to respect the number of wires the outlet's UL listing was actually designed for, and most of the time that number is 1. So instead of trying to stuff 2 or 3 wires under a single screw, there's a much simpler, cleaner way, a pigtail. Here's a real example I run into all the time, installing a smart switch. Say I've got these 2 wires I need to connect. First thing, I'm going to take them off the terminal because we don't want them double landed on that screw. That's not to code. I'll pull them, and I actually prefer to cut them off where they're bent, so I'm not reusing the kinked part. Cut, then restrip the ends clean. Now I've got my 2 wires, and I add a 3rd short sacrificial piece. That's the pigtail. The pigtail is the single output coming off multiple inputs. I bundle all 3 together, the 2 coming in and the 1 going out, and twist them with a pair of linesman's pliers. Twist them until even the insulated section starts to spiral a couple of turns past the bare part. That gives you a nice firm bond. Then a wire nut goes on, threaded down tight, and I do the tug test, pull on each one to make sure nothing backs out. This one holds, this one holds. Now I've got my pigtail and my 2 wires bundled, and 1 clean lead coming out that goes to the outlet or switch, or 1 wire on the screw, like it should be. An even easier version is a Wago lever connector. I love these. They're clear, so you can actually see the coppers fully seated inside against the bus bar, and they come apart whenever you want. Want to swap this outlet for a different one down the road? Pop the levers, pull the wire, drop the new one in, snap it shut, done. And yes, some outlets have proper side wiring, where the design lets you land 2 separate wires, 1 on each screw. Those are the exceptions I mentioned. When the outlet is built for it, use it. You've got the right number of wires, stripped just right. But there's still a wrong way to wrap them, and this next one I've been guilty of myself. The mistake here is going against the grain, putting your hook on backwards without realizing it. It's a small thing, but it matters. You want a nice tight hook, and you want it facing the right way. Work with the tightening, not against it. When you turn a screw clockwise to snug it down, you want the open side of the hook facing right. So as the screw turns, it pulls the loop closed and pulls it in tight. Everything draws together and you get great contact all the way around. Here's the mistake, and I've done this one myself. You make the hook a little too loose, a little too open, and you put it on facing left. Now as you tighten, the screw is actually pushing the loop back out of the seat. Watch, it just walks right out. And the sneaky part is, it can look fine, it looks landed, but it takes almost nothing to break contact, and it can let go suddenly down the line. This gets even more important with stranded wire. You don't see stranded much on outlets, but it's common on light fixtures, and if you're landing stranded wire under a screw with a shepherd's hook, make absolutely sure that opening is on the correct side, or those little strands will splay right back out on you. Before we get to the last one, I've dropped links to every product I've shown in the description below. If something caught your eye, that's where to find it. When you buy through those links, I earn a small commission, costs you nothing extra, and it helps keep the channel going. So thank you for that, and if I left something out, drop it in the comments and I'll see what I can do. And here's the last one, the one I told you to hang on for. Let's say you nailed it. Beautiful shepherd's hooks, landed the right way, great contact, the right amount of copper, the right screwdriver, textbook. There's still one thing that gets overlooked constantly, and I've been guilty of it too, and that's not tightening down the screws you didn't use. Look at the outlet from the side. See how nothing sticks out as far as that one loose terminal screw sitting proud off the body? That's a problem. That screw can touch the outlet next to it, a metal junction box, a bare ground floating in the box, anything. It's a live piece of metal sticking out where it doesn't belong. So to take that risk right off the table, just snug it down. 2 seconds. Now it's flush, it's not touching anything, and it's one less thing that ever comes back to bite you. That's the whole point of doing this the careful way. None of these are hard. They just separate an outlet that works today from one that's still solid, safe, and tight 10 years from now, long after you've forgotten you ever touched it. do these things and you're wiring outlets better than a lot of the pros whose work I pull out of my own walls. No backstabs, the right, insulated screwdriver, the right strip length, pigtails instead of crammed terminals, hooks facing the right way, and every unused screw snugged down. If this saved you a headache or callback, do me a favor and hit subscribe, because I put out this kind of straight-ahead, do-it-right stuff every week. Got a question or a trick of your own? Leave it in the comments. I read them. I'm Lucas Richards. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.